We're going to start with some breaking news on that terrorism story out of Ottawa, as additional charges have been laid against a minor who was arrested and charged this weekend in connection to a possible terrorist activity against Jewish people. The minor appeared in court today through video link, and the CBC's Hilary Johnstone is here with the latest. So, Hilary, tell us about these new charges.
Well, these new charges, David, there's a second count here of facilitating a terrorist activity. And then there are also two charges here relating to either making or possessing an explosive substance. So those are the new charges. As you were saying there, of course, the RCMP are not able to release a lot of details or information about this person who has been charged because of the person's age. So at this point, we do know that there are these 5 charges, that this individual appeared in an Ottawa court today, and that these new charges, 2 of them, like I say, are related to either making or possessing an explosive substance, and then also this second count of facilitating terrorist activity. Okay,
so this making or possessing an explosive substance is sort of the big development here. What else was this person already charged with?
Absolutely. So along with that, there were also these 2 charges that the RCMP had announced on Saturday when they first came out with this information, saying that this individual had been arrested on Friday, and then on Saturday announcing here that that person was facing this charge of instructing someone, either directly or indirectly, to carry out a terrorist activity against Jewish people. And then there was this additional charge as well as facilitation of a terrorist activity by communicating instructional material related to an explosive substance. So as you say, there has now been this development. And certainly at the time on Saturday when all of this was announced, we heard a lot of political reaction, as you can imagine, including from Ottawa's Mayor Mark Sutcliffe, saying that he was shocked, saying that police would be stepping up patrols around Jewish places of worship. And we also, of course, heard other political reaction, including from Canada's Public Safety Minister, thanking the RCMP for their work. We heard from the leader of the opposition, official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, as well, with a similar sort of line here, thanking the RCMP for what they had done. Because what we heard from the RCMP on Saturday is that the reason they were able to come out and announce these charges and arrest that individual on Friday was because of information that had been provided by CSIS.
Okay, so this is very early, obviously, in this process, Hilary. You know, court appearances the weekend and today. What happens next in this story?
Well, first thing, as you're saying, there will be another court appearance that is scheduled for this Wednesday, so just a couple of days from now. And then certainly what we have heard from the RCMP is that they are seeing this rise in extremism, extremist behavior, in particular, they say, among youth using the internet to facilitate terrorist activity. They are asking parents, educators, coaches to be on the lookout for this sort of thing, to talk to young people about this. And they say that the threat of further extremist behavior, that there is the threat of that right now, that they have seen this uptake in hate crimes against both members of the Jewish community, also seen an uptick when it comes to Islamophobia across the country as well. This is something that they have expressed concern over. And they say that just since June, as one example here, David, 5 young people have now been charged with crimes, similar sorts of activity, this threat, this allegation here that they have been using the internet for similar sort of activity in terms of using the internet for terrorism-related activity. So this is a concern that they have. This is something that the RCMP says that they want to continue to keep an eye out for, and they're asking for people who have young people in their lives to also be keeping an eye out for that. But certainly immediately, the next thing will be that court appearance on Wednesday.
Okay, Hilary, thank you so much. That's the CBC's Hilary Johnstone here in Ottawa. Well, this news comes as Jewish communities in Ottawa and around the country are dealing with a sharp rise in anti-Semitic incidents following the October 7th attack by Hamas. I'm joined now by Sarah Beutel, interim CEO of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
There's still many things we do not know about this these particular allegations and this alleged terror plot, but this youth is charged with instructing someone to carry out a terrorist activity against Jewish people, presumably here in Ottawa. How is Ottawa's Jewish community feeling and reacting to this, Sarah?
It's terrible and alarming news, and it's frightening for our community, that's for sure. We are very grateful, though, for the security services that were able to foil the attack and that to make sure that everyone is safe. And we know that we've been told, and we trust that our security services, our Ottawa Police Services, are doing a really good job to continue to monitor the situation and continue to protect Jewish institutions and the Jewish community campus and the like.
Do people feel safe I mean, it's been a lot since October, and this is at a whole other level, in some ways, because we've seen the more extreme incidents have happened in places like Montreal. I've not seen something like this, here in Ottawa. Do people feel safe right now, Sarah?
Look, there have been incidents here in Ottawa as well. Do people feel safe? So we are doing our very best to ensure that our institutions are safe. But it's really, it's hard for people when things like this happen, for people to feel safe.
Right.
So we as the Jewish community are taking steps. We've increased security protocols. We have extra security measures in place. But it is increasingly hard for people to feel safe in the face of this kind of news that we received. So, it's definitely a challenging time for us. We do have many people who have reached out to express support, and that is really, truly appreciated. So I can tell you that when allies and people in the community reach out to community members, to the Jewish Community Center, to Jewish Federation of Ottawa, to express their support, it really is it's very heartening, and it's very helpful at times like these.
No, and look, I take your point when you said earlier there have been incidents here in Ottawa. We had a rabbi on the show a week or so ago. He talked about receiving death threats. But, the Molotov cocktails we saw in Montreal, the gunshots at Jewish community organizations, certainly an alleged plot involving a bomb or some sort of terrorist activity is something we have not seen anywhere up to this point. And I just wonder what the reaction is. Go ahead.
I do want to say that even anti-Semitic words lead to violence.
Right.
So we can't minimize the fact that there has been an increase in anti-Semitism across Canada, here in Ottawa, in our schools, on our campuses, in our neighborhoods, in people's workplaces. And we can't minimize those because they're not as sensational. They still make people feel unsafe. And we know now that words lead to action, and they lead to potential violence. And that has to stop. So when we say that we have to take anti-Semitism seriously, this is what we mean. It's not just sensational acts that are the problem. It's hateful words that could lead and escalate.
Which was the point I was going to get to, that the warning from them was that these sort of words, this is the escalation point that they were worried about. And now we have the criminal charges and the allegations coming out. And I know there were initial changes to security protocols, for example, at facilities and schools and things in the wake of it. Does this require further action when something like this happens? How do you respond to this now? Or do you think what you've been able to put in place up to this point may be sufficient? I don't know if sufficient is the right word, but if it's enough for now.
So I would say that we are always monitoring the security situation, and we are always doing our best to improve in any way that we can our security protocols. And that has not changed, and that will not change going forward. So, every single week, every single month, we're reviewing our security protocols and making sure that they're, that we are prepared and that we have the necessary security in place. So, it hasn't changed since October 7th, and we're going to continue to do that going forward.
How do you balance all of this? Living your life, celebrating Hanukkah in this environment, with the rise in the incidents, the threats. How do you balance it all?
So I think my message to people is this, that we have to go on living our lives, and we have to, be proud Jews and be part of the Ottawa community, which, our community is very much a part of the fabric of life in Ottawa, and we can't stop doing that. But we do have to make sure that we are being vigilant and that we continue to stay really aware of our surroundings. And we are encouraging our community to report anything that they see, any incidents or things that they feel are, worth reporting, that they should. We're encouraging people to. We're providing information on how to report non-emergency happenings. And so that's what we're encouraging people to do, both those things at the same time, to live their lives, to be out there, to continue to gather, to continue to be proud, to continue to celebrate joyful things in a very challenging time, but at the same time to remain vigilant.
There have been calls for all levels of government and policing services to respond to the threat and the rise in anti-Semitic actions over the past several months in terms of everything from accelerating physical security and funding, to do a kind of reinforcement of facilities. Are you satisfied with how various levels have responded to it? Is there something that you still want to see done here, especially in the wake of this more sensationalist incident this weekend?
So I can say that a lot of really positive action has happened. The Ontario government recently released a new round of funding. The federal government has increased its SIP funding, Security Infrastructure Program funding. The Ottawa Police Services has been really fantastic, providing support to the Jewish community here in Ottawa. The mayor has been fantastic. So I would say that a lot of very positive things are happening. What I will say now, though, is that it's apparent that online hate has been allowed to fester with very serious consequences, as the RCMP laid out very clearly. And we really are now pressing the government to take immediate and effective action to combat online hate. That is the next thing that has to happen. And it has to happen hopefully very soon.
That is a difficult fight in a difficult arena. Have you got any advice or suggestions on how they should do? Like, we struggle with this one, right?
People much smarter than me are going to have to
Yeah.
figure that one out. It is very complicated, and I know that's one of the reasons why it's taking so long. But it's never been more important than it is right now to get it right and to take action. So it's really important that this happens, and we really are hoping to see some action in the very near future.
Sarah Beutel, interim CEO of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, I want to thank you for your time on this day. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.